A while back, I made a video addressing the disaster known as Sky Battles. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest giving it a watch as it's one of my favorite videos I've produced, and it also provides a great deal of context relevant to this video. You can either click the top right hand corner or the link in the description if you're interested. Long story short, Game Freak butchered some Pokemon. The time has finally come to undo some of that harm. Skarmory was the first I discussed in my Sky Battle video, so it seems appropriate to do the same here. In the older games, Skarmory was always grounded when in battle. Skarmory's animation gave off the territorial, savage, metal-clad bird impression. A simple yet effective design choice, solidifying Skarmory as a pretty cool Pokemon all around. Then, everything changed when Game Freak attacked. They dropped Pokemon X and Y back in 2013 and introduced a one-off gimmick called Sky Battles where you challenged NPCs in a skybox. In order to produce the illusion that Pokemon were in the air, Game Freak gave all winged Pokemon a flying animation. The illusion is somewhat achieved during Sky Battles when Skarmory is high up in the air, but when you return back to the ground, the illusion is completely shattered. It has Skarmory 2 feet off the ground in the exact same state, which makes him appear as if he's levitating or hovering as opposed to gliding. Skarmory went from an imposing force to looking very goofy due to being suspended in the air in such a manner, like a puppet dangling from a piece of string. The lack of any noticeable animation or displacement accentuates this issue. Many Pokemon suffered a similar fate. Fast forward 6 years to 2019 in Sword and Shield, Skarmory has been fastened to, and left hanging from, that very same string ever since. Even though Sky Battles were immediately removed the following generation in Alola. Well, today, I set Skarmory free from the confines of its string prison. Take a look. Isn't that something? Skarmory immediately regains that imposing demeanor it had so long ago by no longer awkwardly floating 2 feet off the ground with no movement. This animation lacks the character and personality achieved by the one in the Genius Sonority games, and the pose isn't dynamic to compensate for the lack of animation. But damn, does it feel good to have Skarmory demand respect once again. Xatu is another Pokemon left horribly mutilated after the Sky Battle tragedy. It went from calm, stoic, and reserved to, well, goofy looking. Xatu has the type of design where even if it flapped its totem pole wings while airborne, it still looks pretty funny regardless. I'm not sure what criteria Game Freak established that determined Sky Battle eligibility, but not all winged flying type Pokemon were. Pidgey, for example, is not eligible, despite it being perfectly capable of partaking. Pidgey's idle animation reflects this as it's grounded as opposed to flying like its evolutions. Xatu should have been in the same boat, but alas, this was not the case. Until today. Xatu has been returned to its natural, composed state, no longer awkwardly left dangling midair. Xatu feels like an entirely new Pokemon, and I'm happy to see her restored to her former glory. Wingull is a weird one. It has always floated, even in the Genius Sonority games, but at least it swayed back and forth as if though it were dancing on the air. It also has a bit of a bounce to it. This is the type of displacement I was referring to earlier that is absent in Game Freak's gliding animations that has the Pokemon come across as tethered or restricted, which is where the string analogy comes from. Wingull has a bit of a sway in Game Freak's games, but it's not nearly as pronounced. Anyway, here's the change I made that brings Wingull down to earth. Wingull having his wings folded like origami is actually really cute. Wingull also seems pretty happy to give his wings a rest for a change. I was able to somewhat address Wingull in the overworld. Instead of levitating slightly above the ground indefinitely and moving around like some kind of artificial drone, this Wingull descends, lands, and ascends before changing direction, which is more reflective of what you would expect from a wild winged creature in nature. The way Wingull's wings fold and unfold is reminiscent of the Imperial Shuttle from Star Wars, which I found pretty amusing. The remaining featured Pokemon in this video aren't necessarily a fix per se, it more comes down to personal preference, but it's an interesting and exciting look that casts the Pokemon into a different light that challenges your initial perception of them. First up is Charizard. In all of the 3D Pokemon games, he was in a grounded state while idle and would fly around when attacking. This is typically how he's portrayed in the anime as well. Game Freak's Charizard is airborne indefinitely, which essentially removes a state of being that inadvertently detracts from the Pokemon's character. Instead of having both a unique idle and flying animation, they are left with only the latter, which results in less personality being conveyed. I believe that is one of the primary reasons why I prefer the grounded idle animation as opposed to the flying one. A lot of people seem to agree with this sentiment in part, simply based off of the reception of my Sky Battle video. Here is what grounded Charizard looks like in Sword and Shield. A seemingly minor change that can dramatically alter how you perceive the Pokemon. Next up is Flygon. Just like Charizard, Flygon 2 is always grounded when idle in battle. Flygon is a peculiar case as it's a winged Pokemon that is not flying type, but has the ability levitate. Technically, Flygon isn't levitating, but is actually flying. Semantics aside, Flygon was portrayed as flying indefinitely with its wings. Let's put him back on the ground for a minute. This idol overwhelms me with heavy nostalgia. Flygon is one of my favorite Gen 3 Pokemon and I use it all the time in the old Genius Seniority 3D Pokemon games. So seeing him back in a similar state brings me a warming sense of joy and happiness. Last one will be none other than Corviknight. Corviknight is one of the best designed Pokemon of Gen 8, so I thought it would be fun to gain additional perspective on this great Pokemon. Flying is a specialty of the species, seeing as how it's used as a primary source of transportation for people across the region thanks to the taxi service that employs them. Here is a concept of Corviknight where its signature flying abilities are conserved until needed. This gives me a greater appreciation of the design itself, and reminds me a lot more of its official art compared to the flying animation. Neat features like the collared wings that are normally obscured by frantic flapping motions are in full display for all to see. Which Corviknight idol do you prefer? Make sure to leave your thoughts down below as I'm curious what you guys think. That's all for now. I got some more exciting stuff on the way, so stay tuned for that. Until next time, thanks for watching.